2015, Nick Petrangelo won 2 titles, including his first World Series of Poker gold bracelet, and made a total of 11 final tables, cashing for more than $3.3 million along the way. In this edition of Poker Strategy, Card Player TV caught up with him to discuss his bust out from the 2016 EPT Dublin 25K high roller final table. In the hand, it folded to Petrangelo in the small blind, and he moved all in for 8 big blinds with ace-jack. Jeff Rossiter called from the big blind for roughly 40% of his stack with queen-8 offsuit and spiked a queen to eliminate Petrangelo in 7th place. We asked Petrangelo for his thoughts on Rossiter's call and what informed Rossiter's decision to make that call.
So there's a couple of things that go into deciding whether or not you're going to call. Obviously, like number one being what you think the other player's shoving range is. And I think at that point, I had 8 blinds. I was by far the shortest stack in the tournament, and it was in level with a slightly bigger ante than normal. So it was a 60K big blind at 1K. So that's like a bigger ante than it would be at like 40-80. That still says 1K. So that makes me shove wider, and also should make the big blind call wider. And in that case, Jeff also knows, like when evaluating my range, that I'm going to be shoving properly there, meaning like I'm not going to be shoving like too tight. I'm going to be shoving the correct percentage of hands I should. And versus the range I should be shoving there, Queen 8 is probably making like like maybe a big blind or a big blind and a half or something, and so it's definitely worth calling with that hand. It's close enough though where like Queen 6 is probably a fold, Queen 7 still a call, and I wasn't surprised at all to see him call with Queen 8. It's plus chip EV and also a positive ICM call, and if he lost he still would have had like 15 blinds maybe or something like that. It wasn't like he was risking some substantial portion of his own stack and really affecting his future equity in the tournament. He was at a point where he had to take that spot to try to increase the value of his stack for sure. So it was, I think, an easy call, but seems like it might look a little loose on the surface.
We also asked Petrangelo for some advice if you find yourself facing a short stack shove from late position. What type of hands should you be calling with?
Yeah, so like when you're deciding whether or not you're going to call, it's in those situations it's all just about the raw equity of your hand, like how it stacks up against a certain range, in a pre-flop all-in. So that makes something like Queen 8 off a lot more powerful of a hand than it is in other scenarios where like there's just all these different reverse implied odds and stuff. Like Queen 8 off, just the raw equity of the hand is fine versus my shoving range. And then other things you take into account is like if there were other short stacks, maybe I would shove a little bit tighter because I would be more likely to want to let the blinds are about to pass me if I fold the small blind, and then I have like an orbit where maybe some shorter stacks can bust. But the shortest stack had just busted the hand before, so that wasn't a consideration. And there's a big pay jump, and you have an opportunity to get the pay jump as opposed to risking your stack just for a minimal amount of chips. Maybe I'd be shoving tighter and Jeff would be calling tighter. But so yeah, you're basically looking at the equity of your hand versus shoving range. If there's any other additional considerations like other short stacks, how big the pay jump is, how much you're increasing your share of the prize pool by picking up chips and by risking your stack, as opposed to just like waiting to try to gain, realize the real money from the pay jump.
Thanks to Nick Petrangelo for his insight, and thank you for checking out this video right here on Card Player TV.